Welcome to Acton in Focus. I'm Vivian Kotzinger-Birchall, your host, and my guests are Elizabeth Li and Prisha Dayal. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here.
Today's topic is about youth engagement in community activities or community programs. And so tell us a little bit about yourselves before we dig into the issues.
I am a 12th grader at Acton-Boxborough Regional High School, and I was a former student board member of Acton-Boxborough United Way.
Hi everyone, I'm Prisha and I am also a 12th grader at Acton-Boxborough, and I was the other student board member along with Elizabeth.
And how did you get into United Way?
For me, very simple. I saw a call for volunteer board member position during a volunteer fair hosted by my school. That was in 10th grade. And then I applied, I went in for an interview. I really liked United Way, and I guess United Way really liked me. So that's how I got started.
Prisha?
I received an email from the volunteer coordinator at school, and I was very interested in getting professional experience in a real nonprofit. So I applied, and I also went through the interview process, and I'm grateful to have gotten in.
Tell us about your journey, your experience with United Way. What was that like for you?
It was the best experience, one of the best experiences of my life. I think this whole 1.5 years. So I was a student board member for 1.5 years, 18 months. And the amount of maturity and growth I've gotten with the organization has been like out of my age, I would say. I was able to work with really, really talented adult board members like Vivian. And I thought that it was awesome that I got to handle an extra level of responsibility and start my own community projects through the United Way. And also, I was treated just like any other board member. There was no differential treatment because I was younger. And if there was any, it was that I got extra support, and a lot of the adults, like Greet, our executive director, she was really looking out for us, and I really, really appreciated the professionalism and all of the lessons that I learned from doing my projects.
For sure.
Yeah, so for me, definitely being a student board member was one of the most formative experiences of my high school career, because before this, I'd never had the space to, I guess, be a leader and be a leader for young people. And so when I first joined the organization, I was very outspoken and eager, and I dived right into, asking questions during the board meetings. And I was very grateful to see the positive response from the adults, that they really valued what I was saying. And slowly I got very acclimated to the environment, and I really began to believe in ABUW's mission, and I was able to kind of pursue a lot of my own projects related to things with the pandemic as well as racial justice. So I'm really grateful that I had this leadership opportunity, and in the future, even when I'm not a board member, I really hope that I can bring more students into this opportunity.
Let's get a little deeper right there, Priya. You mentioned some of the projects very briefly, but can you tell us what roles you played in these projects and any other projects you may not have mentioned, things that really made a difference? And after you, then Elizabeth will go with the same question.
So one of the main projects that I got to do during my time was when the pandemic started. So Elizabeth and I, along with 2 other students, started a show called On the Bright Side, where we interviewed different frontline workers as well as a senator, and we talked about how their lives have changed because of the pandemic and what positive thing they can take out of every day. And that was a very unique experience for me, because I'd never been responsible for coordinating so many people to organize an interview as well as producing this whole show. And the community liked it as well, because they were able to stay connected even though we all had to stay apart. They were able to empathize with these frontline workers. So I would say that it was completely student run. So I would say that I got to make a really big impact in that area. And the second thing I mentioned was racial justice. So I'm part of the Equity and Diversity Committee at ABUW, and we've had the opportunity to do a lot of events like Chalk the Walk, where people were writing different racial justice messages near the West Side Creamery area, as well as, work around the mascot and managing student dialogue. And currently, what we're trying to do is gather more racial justice organizations to form a coalition that can work together towards making the community more inclusive. So these are the just like some of the few projects that I've been really passionate about during my time.
Totally agree, Prisha. Yeah, that On the Bright Side project was definitely the bright side of my time when the quarantine first started. Yeah, for me, some personal projects. I'm really big on advocating for mental health and senior citizens. So one thing that I helped do in combination with Danny's Place and Acton-Boxborough United Way, we hosted this mental health workshop for back to school, I think incoming ninth graders. And we got a lot of participants, and we invited some professionals to share how they coped with transitioning to ninth grade. And I was honored to be a speaker there as well. We kind of shared what are some resources to do for ninth graders to use, especially during this time where we're all on Zoom and things have changed a lot. So I'm really glad to have helped calm the nervous sentiments of some of the incoming ninth graders a bit. So that was awesome. And then another project that I did was along with I think now it's called the Community Impact Committee, and it was sending letters to senior citizens. So we gathered around 400 letters in 4 different languages, so English, Chinese, French, and Spanish, I believe. And then we were distributing them to senior citizen complexes. So I think all the senior citizens, they've worked so hard for my generation and my parents' generation that it's nice to give back. And plus, I'm sure the whole COVID situation isolated them a lot. So I'm really glad to have brought a little bit of joy and light into their day. And actually, I want to describe a funny story that happened. And right before the collection stage ended, there was a big rain, and a lot of the letters were soaked. My bad. I put the collection box outside in a cardboard box, so not waterproof. But it was really, really amazing the help and support I received after this problem. I was able to salvage what I can, and all the volunteers, they were really nice. Those that I could not save, unfortunately, I contacted them, and they happily did another batch of letters. So I thought, thank you to everyone who helped me, and thank you to all of the support I got from the community to do this and to recover. So I thought, what an amazing experience. Not only were I able to deliver some happiness to senior citizens, I also kind of united the community more through that little hiccup there.
Well, first of all, you ladies are amazing. I can't tell you how amazing you are or how proud I feel just working with you and listening to you right now. You give us hope for the future. Um, but there is something you mentioned earlier, Elizabeth, that this experience helped you with your own community projects. In what ways did it help shape your activism or your projects?
So I think without the resources of United Way, there was no way I would have gotten any of those projects that I listed above done. I felt like United Way was really a jumping board for a high school student like me to see what the world is really like, to have opportunities to email other people who are helping the community, to have all these connections. I feel like United Way really enabled me to see a whole new side of the community that I was never been able to see before, because I was just kind of locked into my school circle, I guess. So it really opened me up to the community. I learned about lots of needs in the community as well, financially, educationally. So I felt that it really just opened my eyes to a whole new set of real world opportunities and experiences.
And Prisha, when you were talking about your experience with the projects, what lesson did you draw from these experiences with the diversity group and community impact that you're going to take with you?
So I think the main thing I learned is how to bring more people into your cause. I think being someone who's always been interested in politics as well as racial justice, you can see the lack of young people in these spaces, and so it has always been a struggle for me to figure out how do you bring more people and mobilize them and make them believe in the cause so that they help you, and we all are united towards the same cause. So I think I learned a lot about that from these projects about how to communicate and how to get the word across and how to make these things accessible for people. I think ABUW has done a really good job making sure that people have ways to get involved, because often people want to make a difference, but they don't know how to. So I'm hoping that in the future, when I'm able to lead more projects, join more organizations, that I keep this in mind, that we want to bring more people into our cause, and to do that we need to make these spaces accessible by giving people ways to contribute.
Well, to the both of you, if you were going to speak to fellow youth and urge them to participate in community projects like this, what would you tell them, each of you, starting with Elizabeth?
I think the most important thing that I wish I would have known before this whole journey was don't be afraid to reach out, especially to adults. I thought I had thought that adults were scary and they knew everything. However, I learned that they're very, very nice and approachable, especially the adults at United Way. And if you want to find new opportunities, to find new channels, just shoot them an email, or if the after the pandemic ends, just stop by their office. I felt like that taking that first step was the hardest thing for me. I think emailing whoever you feel like might be able to help you in your cause, and not being afraid to talk to adults. Of course, that will come with practice. So I think taking that first step is very, very important.
All right, Prisha.
I think I would tell young people that they should be unapologetic while using their voice, because I think young people in adult spaces often feel like they have to censor themselves, or that they're too outspoken, or that they're inexperienced. But I think the perspective young people bring, especially young people of color who are underrepresented, I think it's so important, and that they should be using their voice to talk about whatever injustice they see, and they shouldn't shy away from these tough conversations, because only if we start having these tough conversations we can help younger students, like people in elementary school, talk about biases and different problems happening in our community. So I would say, embracing your identity and having confidence in the perspective you bring.
Yeah, well, that's again amazing advice. Um, so, one of the things that I wanted to ask before we end is one of the challenges this country has had, and also the world, has been misinformation. I've been trying to think of ways that youth can get engaged in creating information or spreading information or running social media campaigns that debunk misinformation, for lack of a better word. So, anyway, how can we mobilize youth? This is the bigger question. How can we mobilize youth to work on projects that are going to save our communities, impact people's lives positively?
Yeah, so I think it starts with educating people about what sources they should use, because first of all, people often start by looking at very biased sources, or sources that are known to spread misinformation. So the first step would be to obviously like avoid these sources, as well as understand the ways in which we like absorb information. So for example, a lot of people tend to educate their Instagram follower base with infographics of different events that are happening, and those often tend to be very oversimplified. And so without being intentional, you're kind of spreading misinformation by giving a very simplistic view of like a geopolitical event, for example. So I think that to mobilize young people, you need to first explain the different ways in which misinformation is spread, and then encourage people to do their own research and question what they're reading. Because often when I was younger, early on in my high school years, I would see an article by a reputable source, and I would just accept it, because I would say that this must be a professional author. But once you start being critical of what you're reading, then you start seeing the biases that exist and how all the perspectives aren't considered. So I think teaching that sort of method, I guess, while absorbing sources would be really important.
Definitely agree with Prisha. That's definitely the first step that you need to take, is to kind of have that mindset change. And I think further, one step further to mobilize the youth in terms of action, I would say the United Way is coming up with lots of opportunities to get the youth engaged. For example, connecting the school district with outside organizations that help counter, whether it's help with anti-racism or other issues like those. And I feel like it's really just reaching out to different students in different schools and giving them an opportunity and letting them know that whatever change they want to see, they can be the change that they want to see. And to provide pathways for them to do that, whether it's through encouraging them to start their own organizations or connecting them with other organizations that have already gotten started on their journey. I feel like that sort of mobilization is really, really important next step. Yeah.
Well, again, ladies, it is such an honor. I'm so proud of the both of you. I see future leaders, presidents, vice presidents. and, and I'm not kidding. I love the energy. I love the momentum that you have. And I just love the spirit of community development that you have. I pray that you take this with you every single day of your lives and continue making a difference in our lives, in our communities. Thank you again for being my guests. Thank you for working with supporting United Way, or working with United Way, serving on the board. It was an honor serving with you. And I hope I can bring you back to the studio. This is our virtual studio, but in the meantime, we have to use the virtual. But I hope I can bring you back to just give us an update on some of the projects that you're doing post United Way.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here, and thank you so much for having this whole interview series. It's been great watching everything else. Yeah.
Thank you, Vivian, for giving me the time to talk about my experience. And I would love to come on again to talk about, whatever topic you feel that I can give a perspective on.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? There are so many. You just
I would love to. I love doing this. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Elizabeth and Prisha, for again being my guests. And for those who are watching, this is Acton in Focus. Thank you for watching. Till next time.